Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we're going to be taking a look at Cinderace V. Yesterday, we had a look at Inteleon V and Rillaboom V, but unfortunately, well, I'll be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen, we just ran out of time. There literally was not enough time to do all of the new Pokemon V revealed yesterday. But it's Friday morning and I'm not teaching today, so I thought, right, let's get bright and early on and take a look at Cinderace V. Now, it is a basic like all of the V Pokemon we see, even though Cinderace is a stage 2 in the game. Cinderace V is a basic Pokemon like all Pokemon V are going to be. Now, you do have a retreat cost of 2, but as we're going to see in a moment, that is, well, let's say largely irrelevant. You can use Balloon, but again, it's going to be largely irrelevant. You've got a weakness to water, which is fine. I mean, you would think with a proliferation of Welder decks at the moment, that water would be a more widely played typing, but as it stands, it just isn't. Water's just not making waves at the moment. Yeah, that's right, I went there. We've got fire typing, and fire typing is good. It means weakness on metal types like Lucario and Melmetal, though do be aware they're likely to play Metal Frying Pan to try and avoid that. And it means weakness on grass type Pokemon like the Rillaboom V I showed you yesterday, which really does look like a great card. Although even those Pokemon can use weakness guard energy if they're desperate to get rid of the weakness. But being a fire Pokemon means you have access to Welder. It means you've got Fire Crystal and Fiery Flint and Giant Half to make sure that you've always got the fire energy in hand. It means you've got Heat Factory Prism Star to go ahead and get yourself that little bit of extra draw power. That is to say that being a fire Pokemon right now is awesome. You have got support coming out of the wazoo. But what does Cinderace actually do? Well, the ability here, and we've not seen many Pokemon V with abilities. We've seen Zamazenta, who is immune to Pokemon V Max, and we've seen Indeedee, who can heal 20 damage from your active Pokemon, but we've not seen a huge amount with abilities so far. This one's got a nice ability. If a stadium is in play, this Pokemon has no retreat cost. If there's a stadium in play, you retreat for free. Now, what is a little bit cheeky here is that the Cinderace from the Sun and Moon set proper has a retreat cost of 1. And the Cinderace from the V-Dex has a retreat cost of 1. This has a retreat cost of 2. So they've inflated the retreat cost, but then they've gone ahead and given you an ability which negates it entirely. And as it stands at the moment, there is almost always going to be a stadium in play. We're in a format at the moment where stadiums are huge. Now, there is actually one gigantic exception to what I've just said, and it is Chaotic Swell. You see, Chaotic Swell is a stadium that you put down, and then when another stadium is played to remove it or replace it, you discard that stadium immediately. That is to say that if a Chaotic Swell is down from your opponent, if you play a stadium, that stadium is immediately removed, and now there's no stadium in play, so you don't get free retreat. Which sounds moderately terrible, but all you need to do is just retreat before you play your own stadium. Like Chaotic Swell will make sure there's no stadium after you've played one, so just retreat before you do. Now, maybe if you play a stadium into Chaotic Swell and it gets destroyed, and then your opponent doesn't play a stadium and you don't have another one, maybe, most of the time you're going to get free retreat. And free retreat is good. It's nice to have free retreat after a KO. It's nice to be able to attack and then retreat into something else if you so wish. It's nice to be able to preserve the energy on there. But there's a million different Pokemon out there with free retreat. This is a little bit of a misnomer having it as an ability. The one saving grace at the moment is the only way to turn this ability off is if your opponent has an active Slacking from Celestial Storm, which turns off all abilities. This is a Pokemon V, not a GX, so Power Plant isn't going to work. The new Mimikyu from Cosmic Eclipse isn't going to work, so it's nice in that regard. But it's not amazing. In terms of the attack, 2 fire, 1 colourless energy, 140 damage. It's alright. Now here's the thing. The Cinderace from Sword and Shield, the set proper, for free energy does 190, although you do have to discard 2 energy. And the Cinderace from the V-Dex, for 2 fire and 1 colourless energy, does 160. Now, to be fair, you then have to discard all energy from it, but even so, although it's weird that all the Cinderace's big attacks are fire, fire, colourless, it's alright, but do we like it as much as the other two? I mean, the good news is you get to keep your energy when you attack, and with free retreat, because of the ability, you're not going to end up discarding the energy when you retreat, so the energy is going to stay on there, but you're not doing enough damage, or as much damage. But then again, you're a basic rather than a stage 2. It really comes down to what are you hitting for weakness and are you doing enough? And to be fair, if we're looking for one-hit KO non-EX and GXs and Vs, and one-hit KO anything that's weak, while 2-hit KOing everything else, 140 is a good number. In terms of non-GXs, 140 will get basically anything you want. I mean, if you look at the ones, I use it as an example a lot, but Naganadal's one of the beefiest non-GXs that sees regular play, and that comes in at 130. Quagsire sees a fair bit of play, but that comes in at 120. And then we've got your non-GXs like Zapdos, your basics, that come in around about 110. Hooper from Unified Mind sees quite a lot of play, but that comes in at 130 again. So you are getting all of them. And in terms of weakness, if you find yourself against something like a Celebi and Venusaur, you get a one-hit KO. Against Lucario and Melmetal, it depends if they've used their GX attack. If they've used their GX attack and reduced damage done by 30, you need to do 290, and with weakness you're only doing 280. You can always use something like Vitality Band to do an extra 10, but it means that in the short term, you're not actually quite getting a KO. But you will be if they haven't used their GX attack yet. Against something like the aforementioned Rillaboom V, you're getting a nice easy KO. And I do mean easy KO. One of the things about all these Cinderace so far, like I've said, we're talking fire, fire, colourless as an attack cost, and it's just Welder. Welder, attach for turn, attack. So it's very easy to pay this attack cost. You can get free energy on a fire Pokemon very easily. We need to be playing a stadium for the ability. That stadium is Giant Half. Once during your turn, discard a card from your hand and search your deck for 2 fire energy. Well, there's 2 of the free right away. So we're not going to struggle to pay this. And at its base, this is kind of good. 210 HP, basic Pokemon, free retreat, and you can easily go second and on turn 1 do 140 damage. It looks really quite nice. Is it good enough? What we really need to do is compare it to the other fire Pokemon that we might be playing. The big one we play at the moment in terms of basic is Reshiram and Charizard, and that does 230, which is a lot better, but it's for 4 energy rather than 3, and it can attack for 3 energy, but it's using a bad version of your GX attack. 200 damage rather than 300 damage going through any effects, which you would have with 6 energy on there. Heatran sees a fair amount of play as a basic GX, and for 3 energy they do 130, which is 10 less than we see on Cinderace. Now they do have the nice ability that lets you move the energy over as you go into the active, and it does have the nice GX attack, which is mainly why it's played, which does 50 damage for each energy attached to this Pokemon. But for 3 energy, you do more than Heatran GX does. Now, Flareon GX is a really nice idea here, and for 3 energy you do 190 discarding 2, but that's on a stage 1 rather than a basic. And I mean, a big one we've got coming out in Sword and Shield is Victini V. But you see, Victini V, now it is for 2 energy, which is nice, but it's 30 damage for each energy attached to both active Pokemon, which is to say, If you've got 2 energy on and they've got none, you're only doing 60 damage. And don't get me wrong, right, I like Victini, but this doesn't actually do as much damage as we would want. And this is all a very long-winded way of saying, hang on a second, if you just want to use Welder and an energy and put free energy on a basic Pokemon, this is actually better than the Pokemon we're playing at the moment. This is better than Heatran, although Heatran has the ability in the GX attack, although this has a lot more HP. And this is better than Reshiram and Charizard if you're only putting on free energy, but then putting a 4th energy on gives Reshiram and Charizard the edge. There are reasons to play this, and having a free retreat only helps. This is weirdly surprisingly good. But, oh wait, no, Wassy score. Let's give it 3 Wassies. I don't think it's a game-breaking card. I don't think it's going to set the world on fire. But I absolutely do think that this is going to see a bunch of play for people that want a Welder and an attachment basic Pokemon. But I'd like to know what you think. So let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WazzyPlays, where we talk about a whole bunch of games that don't have Pokemon, but do have awesome. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.